In this video, we're going to now transfer our floor plans, reference floor plans that we made into Revit. There's several ways we can start doing this. We can use lines as we would in AutoCAD to create like our boundary so we have some stuff to offset to. If you go to annotate, you can have detail lines, which detail lines are, as it says here in the little description, are their view specific lines only. They will not show up in any other views. And so if you hit detail line, it'll bring up this dialog box where you can choose what type of line you draw. You could draw your outline and start working from there by offsetting and doing that kind of work, similar to like you would do in CAD. You can use model lines, which model lines show up in every view. So if you're in a 3D view, you would see these model lines, even in an elevation view. Even though you can't see them, they're actually here on the floor line. They are based on a level, so if you wanted to have the model lines at a different height, you could change them to be at level 2. It'll move the model lines up and you can see them highlighted in blue there. I'm going to delete them. Or you could have something called, use something called reference planes, which is I think how I'm going to start using, laying out my building. So I'm going to use reference planes, which are similar to the model lines, except that they show up in every view, but they actually, even though I'm drawing them here in plan, they'll show up on the level 2 because they are like construction lines. Like in Revit, they go kind of in infinite direction. So here the reference planes are shown up in the elevation. This is the north elevation. You can see it highlights the view when you're in it. And they do not show up in 3D view, but they do show up in your north view, in your elevation views, plan views, and a section view. So if you cut a section, it's going through the reference planes. They'll show up here also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these reference planes just to give me my exterior of the building. If you throw dimensions on it, so if you go to your annotate and then you go to dimensions, you can throw in dimensions on here, and even though I didn't draw them, it's exactly what they are on the plan. You can actually, so here's 84 feet is my overall width, or the east to west dimension on this plan. I can select one of the lines and just enter in 54 for feet. The default units for AutoCAD are feet, so if you enter in just a single numeric value without having your units, it will default to feet. So if I put in 0.5, that's 1/2 of a foot. So it's going to move it to 6 inches. And so it won't do a 1/2 inch, it'll do 6 inches. But if I did 0 space 0.5, it'll move it to 1/2 inch. Or if I do 54 space 0, it'll move it to 54 feet, because that's the default dimensions. So here at the bottom, I'm going to select this bottom line and then give it a dimension of 55'6". So I could either just do 55 space 6 to get 55'6" feet, or I could enter in 55 foot, the little foot mark, 6, or you could enter, if you knew the inches, you could enter the actual inch dimension. So if I wanted to put in 6, if I wanted to make this 6 feet, I would do space 72, and obviously that'll give you your 6 feet. But we want to do 55'6". Sorry, got a little sausage finger action going on there. And then I've got my extent. So now I have these reference planes that will show up in both floor plans and elevations and sections. And so that's the lines I'm going to start using. So here I can go and start laying out my floor plan. I will then use these lines to measure off of, knowing that this is my outside boundary. So I'll start with walls. If you watch the wall videos, I kind of show how how walls work. So the wall video is on week 1-3. This Revit walls video will show you how to set up wall types, but we'll go over that a little bit today. So I'm going to just start with a generic 8-inch wall, and I'm going to just select the rectangle up here and then just make a rectangular wall. If you toggle all the views, which is in the view, tile views, I have the shortcut key to be WT, and so if you select that, it will toggle all your views. Also, whatever view you're in, when you hit WT or tile views, it will put whatever view you're in this top left corner. So if I wanted to make this view the top left corner and I hit toggle views, it'll put that there. I don't need level 2 right now, so I'm just going to make level 1 my main view. And then you can also grab and pull these different views out of the main Revit software kind of window here, and I can drag it and pull it over here. If you want, you can, similar to AutoCAD, where you can have, tell it where the views are. You can kind of move it around to have it snap to different locations on your project. I think I would want this to be section and the elevation, just so I can see all the views. So as I talked about before, the deck on this appears to be about 8 feet from the edge of the deck to the wall here. And so when you throw a dimension on, again, I have it set to DI for a linear dimension, and so if you type that, it'll pull up your dimensions. And actually, I have DA selected, which I believe is, if you go to your keyboard shortcuts, I can type in search and sort it by shortcuts. And let's see. So align dimension I have as DI or DA, which gets us into that. I'm imagining DI is probably the basic, the one that comes already installed. So I'm going to just change it to DA because that's the one I'm always used to using. But you can make that whatever you want. So DA brings you into this dimension. And from here you can then select the wall, and you can see how it gives you a temporary dimension, and it also kind of highlights this dimension you placed in Revit. It kind of highlights it in blue so that you could enter it in and then enter your own dimension, which is a nice feature that I often enjoy in AutoCAD. So I've set these to be 8 feet. If the deck is my reference plane lines, which is this overall 84 feet by 55 foot 6, and I'm offsetting this start of this corner basically at 8 foot off of the edge of the deck. And as I go through here, for instance, now that I know this corner here from wherever this is going to start at 8 feet from this side and 8 feet from this side. So then I could take a dimension here in Bluebeam, pull it down, and see that this front wall face is about 51 or about 52 feet. It's 51, 11 3/4 that I'm scaling, but I'm going to make it 52 feet just so I'm working with nice round numbers. So I'll throw in a dimension. What I initially drew is smaller, but I can just enter in here and I'll make that 52 feet. Oops, I'm sorry, I think I probably looked at that wrong. So that says 51 feet. What is my scale? Yeah, that's correct. So let's see. Oh, I have 84 feet, not 54 feet. So I think I just entered that in wrong here. That's why my drawing looks wrong. So we'll do 84 feet, and that looks right. So that front wall is 52 feet wide. And here we'll do another dimension just to get the length of this other wall, so we have just a place to start. So this other wall, we'll call that 40'6". It's 40'5½", but just to keep the dimensions just easy for us to use, we're gonna go with round up and 40'6". So again, we'll just get into our dimensions. As you can see, when you try to put a dimension, it's going to automatically default to, it's going to want to snap to the center of the wall, but we can change that so that it's the wall faces, and then so it'll try to grab the face of the wall instead. If you hit the tab button, it will toggle through available snaps. So let's say you're at this corner, you could actually even get that corner to snap a dimension to, but we got this outside face to this outside face, and now we can make that, what do we say, 40'6". And I believe it was 40'6", so let's look at our drawings. Yeah, we'll do 40'6". So here's the start of our floor plan. We can pull some other dimensions just to get kind of that footprint of our building. Looks like we got 13'6", back to the garage. And so here I'm going to just throw in a wall here to kind of represent our garage. I believe, if I recall, this wall, actually I believe that there is some jog in the wall. So yeah, it looks like this wall jogs up this little bay window, and then so I will draw this wall, and I won't connect it to this wall up here, because really when we drew this 40'6" wall, that's only for this bedroom pop out here. So I'm going to draw another wall from here, and I'm actually going to shorten up this wall. I'm going to trim this wall, bring it over just to kind of get the rough outline, and we're going to go add dimensions for all of this later. And as you can see, when you draw a wall, if it's close or on top of that previous wall, they'll automatically join together. And then if you go to the Modify tab, you can hit Trim, TR, or Trim Extend to Corner. And so you watch the little video of how it trims, similar to, well, it's different than AutoCAD. The Trim Extend to Corner is more like a fillet on AutoCAD. So get that little extent to that wall. So I can pull a dimension here. We'll look back to see what that was. 13'6" to the garage. So we can modify that to 13'6". And while we're in here looking at the walls, right now we have finish. The wall origin, or the location point, is a finish face interior. So however we drew the wall, you can see where the grips are. And right now, it looks like we've kind of got some walls going in different directions here. So on this wall, it's going to start here and push its way out this way. But we'll want these all of these walls to start with the finish face exterior. So we'll take these walls and we'll change them to finish face exterior. Now, but because the way I drew it, this actually put the finish face exterior on the outside, but that's okay, because we can actually change the way these walls are after we've placed them. So I want this to be finish face exterior. We can highlight those, change them finish face exterior, and now it'll change that origin to be here. So what'll happen is, oh, actually, that's not exterior though, right? Huh? So what we want to do is select this wall. We'll want to choose wall center line, and then if you hit the space bar, it'll flip the wall. So when you select a wall, you can see there's this little toggle button where you can flip it back and forth. But if you have anything selected and you hit space, it'll toggle it back and forth. So I want the finish face exterior to be on this outside, and you can see it put the location line of that exterior wall out here. Now this wall also to put that exterior line. So for example, so what that means is if I change this wall to a 12-inch wall, it's going to add the dimension of this, you know, the 4 inches. It's going to push it in towards the building, because the wall is saying when we set this finish face exterior, it means that we're setting it so that this exterior face is where we want to hold the line, so that no matter what I change here, this finish face exterior will stay the same, and it'll push the dimensions in or out, but towards the interior of the building, because we are holding that exterior face. So I can change this back to the 8-inch generic wall that we started with, and then make sure the rest of our walls the finish face exterior is being held. So here, we have the interior, it is out here, so we'll want to make that center line. Either press spacebar or flip the wall, and then set it to finish face exterior, and then we see that line is, you can see the 2 grips here. That means that that's where the wall is set at, and we've changed it to finish face exterior. Where before, if you rewound, you could see that it said finish face interior and the wall was out here. And that means that if we change the wall, the layers wouldn't be on the right side. So maybe this will be better if I pull up start with let's say I just want to have let's see, we can actually see once we give it a non-basic wall type that you can see where the layers are. So right now, this is thinking that it's the interior side. You can see how the finish layer, this multiple layer side, should be the outside. And so right now these are set to finish face interior, and so the finish is going the wrong way. So what I'm going to do here, and this will be a better graphical depiction of what's going on, I'm going to change it to the center line of the wall. I'm going to hit space or this toggle, and then change it to finish face exterior. So now this will be the exterior side that we're defining. And so here, because this wall is set to finish face interior, you'll notice that if I say I change this dimension or change this wall, it's going to change this dimension because it's pushing out this direction. But if we're creating a footprint around here, we want it to push into the building normally. So what we want to do is change this back, change this to finish face exterior. It's going to hold this dimension, even though this is just a placeholder dimension right now. I don't actually care if it keeps it. I'm going to probably change that. But if we change the wall type, it'll change it into this way, so it'll pull the wall layers towards the exterior and leave this finish face exterior at the same location. You see that? Sorry, this can be kind of confusing, so I'm going to go through and just make sure that all of my walls are set to be the exterior. And then if I hover over any elements in Revit, most elements, especially when there's a chain of elements, if you hover over it and you see how it highlights the one wall and you hit tab, it'll change your selection set. So it'll now select the chain of walls. I should be able to see that all of the walls are set to finish face exterior. So here, let's just finish up this footprint. So it looks like I need a dimension for this garage wall width. Oops. Sorry, I was trying to pick square footage instead of just a linear dimension. 21 foot 10. We'll call that. We'll just call that 22 feet. So I set this 13 foot 10 1/4. That actually wants to be 13.6. So I'll set this to 13.6, and that probably changed because of the way I changed the wall types. So we made that 13.6, and what do we say? 22 feet to this garage. So I'll select this wall, and then manually enter the 22 feet. And let's look at our floor plan. Looks like we've got 33 foot 2 feet to the deck, but let's just see what we have to. So what we have to this other wall here. Oops, I did the actual dimension, not the measure. So we'll do the measure command, and we have, looks like 63. We'll call that 63 feet. Let's save this while we remember. So I'm just going to call this Sample Project 2. I already had one started, but I'm just going to overwrite it. Yep, let's replace that. And before we do that, let's just make sure. So when you have dimensions, you could either add a separate dimension, but Revit is, so they're actually separate. But Revit has a nice feature with dimensions. I really like Revit dimensioning, that you can add to this string, similar to like dim continue on AutoCAD, but you can hit this edit witness line. I have EW for the short command, and it will actually add another dimension connected to this string. So now this string is connected together, opposed to if I were to just draw a dimension. Separate, this would not be controlled. This is a separate dimension string, which seems pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, I'm going to, so we can finish up this footprint. And also too, so when I'm throwing a dimension, if you hold shift down, it will toggle through your main angled dimension. So see, if I hold shift down, it's locking it into this 0 degree or 180 degree line. It'll also toggle through your 45 or your 90. So if you hold shift down and just click kind of close to where you want it, it will give you a nice straight linear dimension. So for this length of this, I'm going to call that 24 feet. Call that 24. And as you can see, so the interesting thing here is that, so looks like it's going past this kind of overall boundary, and that's okay. This overall boundary is just kind of a guidelines. And part of the reason is that it's the wall type I used is a EIFS or EIFS, which is Exterior Insulated Finish System, which we'll learn about as we go through the textbook. Basically, it's like often is a foam with like a stucco kind of over the top. So the thickness is probably a lot more than I'm actually going to do. So yeah, they're showing 3/4 inch plywood, a 6 inch metal stud wall, an air barrier of 2 inches, and the actual exterior insulation finish system as 3 inches. So the wall type that I end up using is probably going to be less than that, and that's okay. As I change the wall type, I may have to change some of the these numbers here, some of the dimensions as they. And so here I'm actually going to just pull that back to be that face, just so that we can keep within our outline. Let's see, so we have that dimension, we have the 61.2, what did we pull for that dimension? So we got 63 feet. So I'm going to select that. Let's see, now I have to figure out why this dimension doesn't want to activate when I select this wall, and it didn't seem like there was any reason. So we got 63 feet, and let's get the last dimension in here. I'm trying to keep this video shorter, just so you don't have to watch a ton of video. I'm going to grab this, and so we got about 5 foot from the face of this wall, which, if we look, it looks to be this entire garage wall is aligned. And it looks like that. We can figure out what this bump out is in a bit. So we'll call that 5 feet. And it's about 5'4 1/4", which that's okay, because what we're looking at here is we've made these dimensions. So let's fix some of these as we were changing the walls. Some of our dimensions got thrown off, but that's okay. It's easy to fix with these dimensions. So what did we think that? Got 52 feet there for that overall width here, so I'm going to modify that. And then check the garage dimension. We got 24 feet, which that looks copacetic. What else here? 13.6, so that looks like that got a little bit messed up there. What did we say, 22 feet? 63 feet. And actually, look at that. As we, I'm going to go to view so that we can see the whole thing. It looks like as we went through and adjusted our dimensions to be close to what we measured off the PDF, it set this last dimension at 5 feet, which is what I was going to make it anyway, based off of the scale of this PDF. I was going to set it about 5 feet, and based on all the dimensions, when I went through and corrected them, it ended up kind of finishing up that last dimension to what I thought it was going to be. So that is how we kind of basically just do a basic floor plan footprint to get your floor plan. I'm going to start another video just so you can go through this, and then we'll have another video for kind of a walls, how to set up the to continue setting up this wall floor plan. So that's it. If we look at the north elevations, we see that it has started already making the elevations. And if we go to the 3D view, we see we have our 3-dimensional floor plan here. So the next step would be adding doors and windows and adding the interior walls, because that's what we'll be doing at the end of the next week. Got our footprint all set up. We can start adding, I'll probably start adding a deck and these interior walls, but in Revit, kind of, you can kind of start anywhere you'd like. But anyway, I think for now that'll be a good first part of this video. Is that we'll take a section here, and we can see that we already have a section, and based on that wall type, it has given us a start of a section here where you can see all the layers. If you don't see any layers, it might be set to coarse, the detail level, which the detail level is also found over here in your properties palette. You can set it to medium and fine. Depending on the type of element, there might not be a difference between medium and fine. But as you can see when we did the columns, it in a separate, in that other video, there is a different detail scale set up for certain elements. So anyway, we'll stop with that, and we'll start another video just on how to where to go from here. All right, thank you guys.